Week 8 featured 2 finals rematches, and it's actually going to be over 2 nights. Night 1 is in the books, both finals rematches in the books, and both were actually pretty good. We had an overtime game in addition to that. So, let's just jump right into it, as the good Sam Leventhal always likes to say on his post-game shows. The Week 8 Monday night post-game show is presented by Body by Ryan Fitness. No read today. The dude's got a new website. I respect it, bodybyryan.com. Go check that out. That is now the link below this video. 100% free to check out the website, so bargain when you go there. Just click on it. Give me a click. Stucky, Greg, Ryan, Connor, I am Joey. Other Joe behind the camera for the first time, so we'll see how this goes. Guys, Brotherhood No Limit lived up to the freaking hype, huh? 80-78, couple free throws down the stretch. No Limit, I think, won it down the stretch. I'm interested what you think. Jumped out early. Brotherhood came back. Regained the lead in the second half. Had a lot of high tense moments, but the rematch from the fall 16 finals, what'd you guys see?
I mean, I don't know about Stucky, but Ty Sands really stood out to me. I believe he's number 5 on their team. He's missed a few games. I know he has AAU basketball or something, but he really stood out to me. I did not know they had a player like him just stashed away on the bench. I mean, you hear Jalen, you hear Howley, you hear Terrell, you hear all these players, but he came out today. He was guarding Mike Davis, which I thought was very impressive. Mike Davis had a hell of a game. I mean, the Brotherhood had Mike and Russ combined, I think, for 57 points. No one else in their team had double digits. So I really thought the tail of the game was death, and the Brotherhood just doesn't have enough.
I'm going to agree with Greg. Ty Sands really frustrated Brotherhood. Right? They couldn't get anything down low late in the game, right? And we saw Brotherhood get so frustrated. Jabril, he lost his composure a little bit. Russ, once he got those turnovers in the late game and they weren't getting the calls that they wanted, they kind of hung their heads and the body language changed. So that was obvious for No Limit, and that killed the Brotherhood in this game. Yeah.
On to that others finals rematch I mentioned from the winter, Monstars and Redemption. Monstars pull away late, I think is fair to say, 94-82. Redemption hung with them. I really liked what I saw from that team. A very different matchup from what we saw in the finals last year, but what'd you guys see here tonight between those two?
That 12-point win is a little misleading because that lead grew in the last 2 minutes, or maybe minute and a half of the game when Redemption kind of, I say, settled with the loss a little bit. They just settled that, and they knew they were going to lose that game, so they kind of took their foot off the gas. But it was a great game the entire time. Redemption stayed in the game. They had great scoring from Silva.
There you go.
Silva. He shot the ball from deep really well. He brought the ball down in the paint, scored. He had 29 points. But when you talk about a team like the Monstars, and Ty Austin actually gave me a great quote at the end of the game. He said, "We want to see how deep we go into our bench. Every time we get on the floor, we want to see how deep our bench can go." And that showed today. Their bench was really what keyed them to this win. Great win, I would say. But Redemption, on the other hand, for Redemption, they showed us what we needed to see out of them today. Everyone pregame said, "Oh, well, we haven't seen that same Redemption team from last year," but tonight was really showing that we're still the same Redemption team, and this is what we needed to see. And they needed to show every other team going down into the stretch, into the playoff, because we had essentially marked them off as like the middle of the pack team, but they showed us that we're still the same defending champions, defending fighters from that 2 years ago season. So great job by Redemption showing us something.
Getting into that overtime game that I mentioned, Bad Boys in the Throne. Throne escapes. That's that score over there, 76-69. Went into overtime, so obviously they were tied after 4 quarters. No Joe Bacciello. He was here practicing his shooting when he was losing his mind, with the game going on. But I think Bad Boys had a good showing. The Throne proved some people wrong, I think, tonight too.
Yeah, they proved everybody wrong.
A lot of Stucky to leave the show, huh? My bad.
They proved a lot of people wrong, but except for me, because I knew that they had the talent. You know, those Jacobs and Jean Baptiste, he had 25 points tonight. Stenson was 1 point shot from a double-double. So when you think about that whole team and that dynamic, they all play with each other the entire game, and they are all going to stay on one another. And it's not in the negative way like we saw in that Brotherhood No Limit game, how the Brotherhood was on each other. Like in the negative way, we saw a lot of positivity when you talk about the Throne and how they get on each other. They tighten up on defense, you know what I mean? And it's always constructive criticism. It's never telling my teammate that he's a bad player or something. So I like the way those guys play, and they play with each other, and I love it. You know what I mean? They covered that spread, and it was nice.
Stucky's over there honking the horn of the Throne bandwagon. You know, he's sitting in the driver's seat taking control of that one.
And by the way, just a great quote for tonight: "Watch the Throne." That's their message for every other team, to watch the Throne. So.
Well, we will get to watch them next week against the Brotherhood. I know. Damn
big
sure.
Game.
Goon Squad and Lob. Let's get Stucky to be quiet for a minute. Anyone want to drive the Goon Squad Lob bandwagon? Either or. There's two separate, I'm aware. But Goon Squad wins. Close game. You know, they hit some free throws down the stretch to win by 10. But Goon Squad, 5 guys. So, you know, they had that extra bench guy, if you want, which might be huge for them. And they beat a Lob team, also a little depleted tonight. But I thought Goon Squad now is trending upward as we head into the playoffs.
Yeah, Goon Squad showed us all year that they could compete. They just had some troubles in some of their games closing out. And this was the pick'em of the week, this game. So we expected another competitive close game, and it was exactly that. Came down to the fourth, and going into the fourth quarter was a tie game. But Goon Squad able to just completely pull away, and that extra guy on their bench for them adds like a different factor for them because they're so used to running with only 4 legs. So now they had an extra guy out there to help give them some extra wind, and they showed because the Lob 203 was, you know, once again, it was the Eric Singleton show. He had 31 points. His entire team combined had 27 points. So it just goes to show that they need some more support. Eric can't do it by himself. I don't know what Ryan saw. What did you see, Ryan?
Well, I didn't see Brandon Massaro for Goon Squad, but Matt Marconi really picked up the slack, 21 points, 8 rebounds, and we touched on it already. I think all those weeks of not having a bench, they get this one bench guy, and they probably felt like they can all take a breather and relax for what probably seemed like a whole quarter to them. They're used to playing up and down the floor, and it really showed. Like you said, it was tied in the fourth quarter, and that's when they took advantage. And I think maybe Lob might have been expecting them to slow it down a little bit in the fourth quarter, but they've been, you know, gearing up for a game like that for the last 3 weeks.
And that's just another one. 5 of the 6 games from tonight were, I would say, close, contested matchups. The last one, Sports Look and Fry Time. I didn't mess this up. I did say Fry Time. 61-52 with Sports Look tonight. Sports Look only having 4 guys. No Acevedo, noticeably missing. Got to come to play. I mean, this still counts. So Fry Time in the game. Sports Look does escape with the win. That's ultimately what matters. But what'd you see from them with only 4 guys tonight?
I saw a sloppy game. You know, their 2 leading scorers finished with 20-plus points, but they both shot under 32%. So it was a really sloppy game, but that seems to be the trend against Fry Time. You think about the Throne last week. They played a really sloppy game and still beat Fry Time pretty handily. So as long as everyone saves their sloppy game for against Fry Time, they'll probably still get a win. But to Fry Time's credit, we've been telling them to use their size for the entire season, and they were really banging down on the boards beneath the rim. I think they knew that Sportslook had no bench, and they were going to try to wear them down, but Sportslook's just a better team.
And last but not least, Central Chocolate Double Dribblers, 96-65. So the lone blowout from tonight, but Central Chocolate again didn't have a big bench. I don't know what's going on if people just don't like subbing anymore. But take care of Double Dribblers. I felt like Carmine was more quiet tonight. Maybe I was wrong.
You're wrong, actually.
Oh, good. So totally wrong.
He had a
Carmine had
triple-double,
a quiet,
no
loud
deal.
night.
Yeah, 17 points.
It's the usual.
17 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists. So he had a pretty huge game. just
Quiet.
Maybe not his 35 points.
Quiet.
Hey, it's Carmine, so maybe we see that as a disappointment. But you know, you think about what people say about today's basketball, and we're in that big 3 era where you need those 3 key pieces to win a title. And you have an offensive weapon like Carmine, and as efficient as he is on offense, his brother is just as efficient on defense. He had 7 steals tonight, 2 blocks, I think 8 rebounds. He was filling up the defensive side of the stat sheet. So you have those two to go with a guy like Troy Brunson, who had 26 points, 12 rebounds. So you have Carmine and Nick, and then you have Troy down low. That's a pretty scary, recipe for a deep playoff run.
And I'd like to also mention that they have Aaron Samuel and Javon Spinks, who his physical presence was scary for those 2 weeks that he showed up. They weren't even here this week. So like you said, a little bit shorthanded on the bench. But if the playoffs come around and all these guys show up, you're going to be looking at a Central Chocolate team that can take down anyone in this league.
That about does it for part 1. We say goodbye to Stuckey, but we will be back with part 2 of the post-game show. 4 games taking place on Tuesday night. See ya. Stay tuned. 3 seconds from now, part 2 of the post-game show coming right up. And we're back after night 2. We've lost Stuckey, but I have some of the guys from last night here. 4 games tonight. The 2 8:30 games, I would say, lived up to some of the hype, and then we had 2 blowouts to cap Week 8. This is still presented by Body by Ryan Fitness. Website below this video, as always. Guys, run TMC Stranger Danger. Let's just get it out of the way. Feldman made an appearance. We were trying to take bets on if the line would change if Feldman was not in the building. He did make an appearance. 65-60 run TMC. It's always feels good. Feels good. But what from this game? We mentioned we were making fun of some of the touchdown passes Stranger Danger was trying. But besides that, what did you see? And it came down to 5 points.
Yeah, it was a good game for TMC, one that you guys really needed to get as well in the win column for you guys. So I think that Stranger Danger really let us down, and a lot of turnovers, and especially in those late possessions when they really needed clutch points. We talked about it, throwing full court passes with Nick Chioni down here, who, from what I heard, is a wide receiver. So that's never a good idea, trying to throw over his head. So I thought tonight what really stood out when I was looking at the stats was Will Hudson had 14 free throws made on 17 attempts. That was incredibly efficient. He scored 20 points, so 14 of his 20 came from the free throw line. Anytime you can knock down the fundamental shots like that, take the freebies at the line, gives your team a huge advantage, and it paid off tonight, only winning by 5 points, so those 14 really mattered.
I realize I'm biased, but he was getting fouled a lot.
Yeah.
So you can take that for whatever it's worth.
Yeah.
I'm biased. Untouchables, a lot. So now we were making fun of a lot of you guys during the pregame show, right, for picking this game. And we didn't know who was going to win, but we thought Flight Club had an advantage. Untouchables take it, 60-52. Again, I was unable to watch chunks of this one, so give me the scoop on how they were able to knock off Flight Club.
It was Josh Avery. He had 24 points, 14 rebounds, 8 blocks, and they just had no answer for him. He's a big guy, and Flight Club's on the smaller side. They're kind of young. For some reason, Jacob Miller, who is, I think, 5th in the league in three-point percentage, didn't play the first 3 quarters. They maybe would have won that game with him. I'm not really sure why. But the difference was Josh Avery. I mean, no Rosario, no problem for Untouchables.
Wow, yeah, they win without Rosario, too. I kind of want to give them their shine. This is a big one. Any other notes from that game? You didn't see it, did you?
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Good talk. Okay. Flint Tropics and Sometimes Why. We had talk of Corn Dogs scoring 100 points on Sometimes Why, 129-50. They had 100 entering the 4th, right? I think they took care of that before the final frame. Kind of expected this. So, what from Flint, or even Sometimes Why, but what from Flint do you think they can take into the playoffs? I mean, obviously they're playing a lesser opponent, but what stands out as we expect them to be in the mix, come the quarterfinals, semis, and even finals?
They're balanced. They have 4 players with 20-plus points and 5 in double figures, and then you have a guy like Ryan Caggiano, came into this game averaging under 6 points a game, and he goes off for 29 and makes 7 threes. So he scores the same amount of points as Mike Bizzuto. That's not something you really expect for the Flint Tropics, as Bizzuto's really been carrying this team offensively the last few weeks. But I think that was exactly what Flint needed. I feel like they might not have been playing their best basketball the last couple weeks. They were shorthanded one week, but they blew the doors off Sometimes Why, which is what they were supposed to do and what they needed to do.
Some inside info, I don't believe Mike is going to be able to be here for a good chunk of the playoffs. So, I mean, they're going to enter as one of the higher seeds, and then we'll have to see. He already mentioned he'll be back for the finals from vacation, so that means they'll have to get to the finals.
I don't know if they'll make it without him.
So we'll have more playoff talk coming up for sure this week as we head into the final week of the regular season. Coach Moose in the building for Team Moose as they win 87-54. I'm interested in that interview. I heard the interview, which is awesome. You can check that out on Facebook. But Team Moose, I thought STP hung with them. I came over here to Joe on court 1 and mentioned they hung with them a little bit in the first half, and then the clinic was on for Team Moose.
I mean, it was a little sloppy game for Team Moose. It was kind of uncharacteristic in a sense for them. I mean, Connor Daly had an amazing game. He was actually 3 steals, rebounds, and assists from a quadruple double.
Wow.
So he had a huge game. And you know what really changed with this Team Moose team is when they added Trevor. I mean, I know there's been speculation how tall he is, but him with Brad, they are 2 big men that can give any team in this league problems. Team Moose plays probably the best defense in this league, arguably. They pass the ball. Their passing's amazing. I mean, they have 2 big men who are arguably 2 of the best passers at the big man position in the league.
Right.
And when everything's flowing and clicking for them, it's scary. And you kind of saw the first 3 quarters. They were down. They were up, but they were kind of down. They were yelling at each other. And then that 4th quarter, a switch flipped, and they just blew the doors open.
A lot of fast breaks, kind of what we expected, but it took them a little while to get into that. Week 8 postgame show part 2 is now over. We have Around the Arc coming up later in the week. Power rankings, top plays are all still happening. The last power rankings of the season, as week 9 we get right into playoff stuff. So we will see you for that. Ryan, Connor, Greg, I'm Joey. This has been the week 8 postgame show. One more week, guys, and the playoffs are here. So we will see you for week 9 Monday, July 31st. We have all the games back on Monday, and we'll see you then.